Welcome to the MCTV News Weekly Update. I'm Katherine Janiszewski.
And I'm Goettler. Tonight we'll be covering national news stories like the new $100 bills that are rolling out, the latest on the government shutdown, and a 9-year-old kid who made fools of airport security. We've got some international news for you too. We'll be looking at the Italian shipwreck, the auction of a diamond in China, and a problem for the world's youth. We've got a lot in store tonight, so let's jump right into our top story. This term in the Supreme Court is going to be one for the history books. Instead of focusing on more mundane cases, the court is going to tackle constitutional issues such as abortion, public prayer, campaign contributions, and affirmative action. The first case up on the list is National Labor Relations v. Noel Canning. The case will address the issue of whether or not the president has the right to go over the head of the Senate by making recess appointments. For those of you at home that don't know what a recess appointment is, it is when the Congress is not in session and the president appoints someone to a position that would normally require Senate approval. After that, the Supreme Court will decide on a case that deals with campaign finance laws. This case is focusing on caps for funding sent from individuals to candidates and political parties.
1 week into the partial government shutdown, and the nation is already counting down to the next federal crisis, the debt ceiling. Obama administration officials say the U.S. will run out of money to pay its bills 10 days from now, unless Congress votes to raise the limit on the amount of cash the government can borrow. But as Dana Bash reports, President Obama and House Speaker John Boehner gave no indication of a deal on the horizon.
The government has been shut down since last week. The country could default next week, and the president and House Speaker spent the day talking past each other.
The reason that Speaker Boehner hasn't called a vote on it is because he doesn't apparently want to see the government shutdown end at the moment.
The president had us all down to the White House last week, only to remind me that he was not going to negotiate over keeping the government open or over the looming need to increase the debt limit.
Let's start with the debt ceiling deadline, just 10 days away. The White House signaled some flexibility on timing. The president's spokesman said they prefer to raise the debt ceiling for a year, but could accept shorter.
And we're not saying today that a debt ceiling ought to be or can be any particular length of time.
But timing isn't that relevant if the president insists he won't negotiate anything as a condition to raising the debt ceiling.
We're not going to negotiate under the threat of further harm to our economy and middle-class families.
And the House Speaker says any hike in the debt ceiling must include talks on issues directly related to the nation's debt, like entitlement reform. In an attempt to make the president look unreasonable, some 20 times Sunday, John Boehner said all he wants is a conversation.
We're interested in having a conversation about how we open the government and how we begin to pay our bills. But it begins with a simple conversation.
On the government shutdown, 7 days in, still no end in sight. The president taunted the speaker for refusing to schedule a vote on a clean, no-strings-attached bill to fund and reopen the federal government.
If Republicans and Speaker Boehner are saying there are not enough votes, then they should prove it.
That in response to Boehner insisting the votes are not there.
There are not the votes in the House to pass a clean CR.
But some of Boehner's rank-and-file moderate Republicans disagree. You agree with that?
With respect to the Speaker, I do not agree. I believe that if a clean CR were put on the House floor, that it would likely pass with more than 218 votes. I believe comfortably.
200 Democrats trying to call Boehner's bluff signed a letter demanding a vote on a no-strings-attached bill to fund the government. That would mean 17 Republicans would have to defy their leadership. But so far, multiple senior GOP House sources insist John Boehner has no intention of bringing that clean bill to fund the government for a vote. One GOP source told me that conservative backlash would be, quote, god-awful. Another said that would be the end of his speakership. Dana Bash, CNN, Washington.
Thousands of people remain off the job as the government shutdown goes into its second week. That means there are not only federal agencies and tourist attractions across the country closed, but many people aren't getting paid. The shutdown affects many of us, and already people are feeling the stress. Is there a way to deal with the pressures? Here's Susan Hendricks with today's Health Minute.
National parks closed, federal agencies not open, and what's worse, thousands of people are not getting paychecks. With everything else that's going on in this world, we are a stressed nation, and that's not good for our health.
It can cause physical symptoms such as increased heart rate, loss of appetite, sleep concerns.
But there are ways to cope. Experts recommend you stay with a schedule, remain active, get exercise, eat well, and don't sit around thinking of things that may or may not happen.
If you allow yourself to do that, that can lead to heightened levels of anxiety, which can also lead to feelings of depression and symptoms of clinical depression.
Also, add to your routine, do something you've really wanted to try and haven't had the time to do. If your stress is over money, take this break to really look at your finances and put together a family budget. Look at how you can save some money should this ever happen again.
Look at your expenses, look at where you can save and cut back, create a daily budget, and really monitor it. This will really help you in the long run, not only during a furlough, but in life.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Susan Hendricks.
Almost a year after Hurricane Sandy, some New York residents are still waiting for assistance rebuilding their damages to their homes and neighborhoods. Unfortunately, New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg says the government shutdown may delay those anxiously awaited projects by stopping the flow of aid coming to the state.
So this whole government shutdown is kind of a mess. It's like affecting everything.
It's affecting people you would never expect to be affected. You would expect just the government workers, but these poor people who were affected by Sandy originally are now affected by the shutdown.
Yeah, and I even saw where like veterans are not getting benefits and stuff that they really depend on. So people's lives are really affected by all of it.
It's a horrible situation, and I want it to end so soon because it's affecting so much of our daily lives.
Yeah, they've got to make a decision and come to it really soon. Well, a survivor of the Boston Marathon bombings is learning to run again. Heather Abbott practiced running on her prosthetic leg in a clinic with other amputees on Sunday. Abbott was watching the Boston Marathon when 2 bombs went off near the finish line on April 15th. The blast killed 3 people and injured more than 200 others. Abbott says she is determined to do all of the things she used to do. She has 4 prosthetics, one for running, a waterproof one for swimming, another that allows her to wear high heels, and an everyday leg.
A 9-year-old boy from Minneapolis managed to sneak onto a plane to Las Vegas, apparently without a boarding pass. George Howell has more on what happened.
This is where it all started. A 9-year-old boy walked off a light rail car Thursday and into the Minneapolis airport with plans to travel, but no ticket. He passed through the security checkpoints of TSA screening. No problem. Then he continued on to the G concourse, specifically here at gate G4. But it's still unclear exactly how he got past the ticket agent who was collecting tickets here. What we do know is this minor did board flight 1651 and traveled some 1,300 miles to Las Vegas. Officials say it wasn't until the flight crew became suspicious because he was traveling alone and contacted Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, who took the child into custody upon landing.
I think they should take him to the tables and let him play a little because his luck was doing well. You know, once he got to Vegas.
Air transportation expert Terry Tripler says the whole thing highlights big gaps in security, especially when it comes to children.
Because that 9-year-old child does not need identification. Anyone under 18. So I can understand standing behind a family or whatever as the family's checking in and they're not aware that he's standing behind them. I can understand that. I cannot understand the Delta gate agents. This is where I put the major problem. It happened there.
While no one would talk on camera, we did get a lot of statements. First from the TSA, essentially saying they did their jobs. Quote, the child was screened along with all other passengers to ensure that he was not a threat to the aircraft. And then Delta. Quote, Delta is taking this incident very seriously and working with authorities in the investigation. Due to the fact that it involves a minor, we are not commenting further at this time. For the traveling public who know the rigorous routines of airport screening.
And we have to go through taking our shoes, put them in bags, go through the belt, go through the thing.
It's a mystery how a child could have slipped through the cracks.
I'm quite surprised that he got through security and all the things we as adults have to go through.
George Howell, CNN, Minneapolis.
New $100 bills will be showing up at banks this week. The Federal Reserve Board says the currency will begin circulating today. New security features include a blue 3D security ribbon that makes it easier to authenticate and harder to counterfeit. So what do you think about these new bills? I think they look faker than...
Yeah, personally, I've never seen an old fake $100 bill, so I don't understand how they would be easy to counterfeit, but I imagine these must be harder, which is their goal, I guess.
You know, I wonder if it means that places like McDonald's are going to start accepting larger bills now. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting. Last semester, we covered the beginnings of this story, and now we bring you the continuation. The competition is now closed for those of you looking to try on a pair of Google Glasses. The company says it received an overwhelming number of applications to the beta test for the new technology. Zane Asher reports.
Okay, Jed, what's coming?
In the movie Minority Report, Tom Cruise's character uses cameras on his fingertips to help see crimes before they happen. Google Glass doesn't quite let you see the future, but the company says it does allow you to record the present.
Okay, Glass, take a picture.
With simple vocal commands, the specs are being touted as allowing wearers to take photos, send text messages, and record video, all hands-free.
This is sort of taking a smartphone, like an iPhone or an Android smartphone, and putting it on your body.
The glasses don't have any real lenses. They're essentially a headband with a display screen hooked up to Wi-Fi, allowing wearers to search the internet, see driving directions, and view language translations on the go.
Will people want to have this type of technology on their body at all times? If they do, it's a game changer.
I always take pictures, and so it's really convenient. It's right on my face, so that's awesome.
I think it's too much technology. I mean, it doesn't really let you enjoy the moment.
As Google refines the product, it's making the glass available to select beta testers. The testers will be winners chosen from a competition based on creative tweets. But winners will have to spend $1,500 to buy the device. That's more than the average laptop.
That's expensive.
Expenses aside, Google, a company known for internet search domination, is moving even further into the product market. Its Android operating system now dominates the smartphone market. It's introduced the driverless car, and now it's pushing into artificial intelligence. Google Glass coming soon to a face near you. Zane Asher, CNN, New York.
Well, this last week was gorgeous, just in time for Alumni Weekend, and although the last few days have held rain, let's hope things can dry off next week. With a look at your weekly highs and lows reports, here is Peter Malavenda.
Thanks, Caitlin. If you had to go outside yesterday, you probably didn't want to. Damp, humid weather covered the East Coast as a powerful front pushed through, setting off tornado watches and dumping buckets of rain on distressed students. Well, that's all over for now. As we look towards the south, more wet weather is heading our way. We have a low pressure system that is currently parked over northern Florida and Georgia. Low pressure systems spin counterclockwise, and this is pulling moisture in from Karen. Now, this pressure system is going to be moving northwards into our area around Thursday night, which is going to make a very wet and windy Friday. Heading across the globe, India is bracing for a potential tropical cyclone to make landfall on Saturday. Warm ocean waters and little wind shear will allow the storm to strengthen over the Bay of Bengal later this week. By Friday, the system is expected to be as strong as a Category 1 hurricane. Damaging winds and flooding rainfall will be the primary concerns for India. Now let's get back to our neck of the woods and see what happened today. Today we had a high of 66 degrees, which was our average for today. Pretty nice. It seemed a little bit cold actually due to the warm, moist air we had yesterday. Our low tonight is going to be 38 degrees. It may get towards 40. Still very chilly. Our record temperature for today was 87 degrees. That's pretty hot. And our low was 21. I hope it doesn't be 21 degrees for at least another few months. Our sunrise today was 7 o'clock in the morning, and our sunset was 6:26 for those of you heading out to night class. As for tonight, skies will remain mostly clear with a brisk low of 40 degrees. Winds will die down to 5 miles per hour, and humidity will remain high. For tomorrow, expect partly cloudy skies with a comfortable high of around 67 degrees. As we head towards the end of the week, the rain returns. Expect isolated showers on Friday and cool temperatures. Saturday looks better with a high of 70 degrees and partly cloudy skies. As for your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it's all going to feel and look the same. Mostly cloudy skies with temperatures in the upper 60s to low 70s. Enjoy the fall weather, Marist. That's all I have for you this week. With your weekly highs and lows report, I'm Peter Malavenda. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Peter. Where were you on the yesterday when we got caught in all the rain?
It was so bad. I was on my way to work, and I had a jacket that I had just brought up from home, and I ran from Lower New to Little Thomas. My jeans were completely soaked. I had to work through it, go home and change. Everyone was hanging under the overhangs. It was a disaster.
Yeah, I went to my 3:30 class. My jeans were soaked, and I sat there the entire time in soaked jeans. I don't think I've ever had to do that here.
Thankfully, we had a beautiful day today.
Yeah, to make up for it.
Well, switching gears to more international news, this week the United Nations began the chemical arms removal in Syria after the August 21st use of the nerve agent sarin gas on the city of Ghouta. The attack was estimated to have killed hundreds of people, and the al-Assad regime was to blame. The regime has tried to blame the Syrian rebels. Syria currently has 20 chemical weapon sites around the country, according to a report the nation gave last month. According to estimates, the nation's arsenal is believed to include more than 1,000 tons of sarin and other banned chemicals, such as sulfur mustard.
Sadness is spreading throughout the country of Italy after a shipwreck off the tiny island of Lampedusa this past Thursday. The ship was on voyage from Africa. At least 111 people died. 150 have been rescued. After catching fire, the ship capsized just half a mile off the coast of Italy. Italian authorities say the death toll may continue to rise because about 200 people were still not accounted for. Italy's government declared Friday a day of national mourning. However, rescue efforts have been canceled due to poor sea conditions. Many people believe that this is a violation of duties. The Italian House Speaker, Laura Boldrini, has stated that, quote, "To come to a rescue duty and to not come to rescue is a crime."
Yesterday marked the 12-year anniversary of the start of the war in Afghanistan. On October 7th, 2001, the U.S.-led Operation Enduring Freedom began with Allied airstrikes on Taliban and al-Qaeda targets. This came months after the September 11th attack that the U.S. government linked to al-Qaeda, a group that operated under the Taliban's rule in Afghanistan. I can't believe how long this war has been going on. This war has been going on since I was in first grade. And
yeah.
It's astounding to me that it's gone on this long.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, you know, all those people that have been over there fighting and all those families, you know, waiting and things like that for things to be over. And, you know, we were just talking about the debt ceiling and the government shutdown, and it's all interconnected.
Mm-hmm. You can't separate one from the other.
Exactly. So hopefully we'll see an end to all of it soon. Goettler is gaining attention this week after international labor organizations stated that it is, quote, a slave state. The remark was made by Secretary General of the International Trade Union Confederation, Sharon Burrow. She believes an estimated 4,000 migrant workers may die this year in Goettler. Secretary General of the Goettler 2022 Supreme Committee, Hassan al-Thawati, told CNN he was offended by the claim, but recognizes that labor rights laws take time to create.
People in Vietnam gathered this weekend to pay their respects to a revered general. Local media reported that Vo Nhu Gen Giap had died. He was 102 years old. He was credited with helping push French and U.S. troops to withdraw from the country after decades of war. But critics of the general say he was ruthless and had vast disregard for the lives of his soldiers.
Argentine President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner was diagnosed with hematoma in her head after doctors found a blood clot on the surface of her brain. She has been told to take a month off work. The doctor's recommendation comes just as the campaign season is heating up. Congressional elections will be held on October 27th. Fernández did not show symptoms after doctors conducted a brain scan following her injury. Argentina's constitution mandates that the vice president take over during the president's absence, but it's not certain whether or not that will occur.
Break out your checkbooks. Sothebys is offering the largest diamond of its type ever at auction. The spectacular sparkler comes in at a cool 118 carats, give or take. It's known as an oval D-color flawless, and you can see why. It can be yours for a mere $28 to $35 million, plus the airfare to Hong Kong, where the 5-day auction started yesterday. I'd love to see that diamond in real life.
Yeah, me too. There's going to be one lucky lady out there whose wonderful fiance or husband buys that for her.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the United States government is being condemned by Libyan lawmakers who are claiming we kidnapped a Libyan citizen from Tripoli late last week. The U.S. captured Libyan citizen Abu Nas al-Libi because of a link between him and the Al-Qaeda's 1998 bombing of the 2 U.S. embassies in East Africa. The raid was the United States telling Libya that it has lost its patience with the unstable government and is done watching suspected terrorists walk the streets because the government cannot handle the force of the intervening U.S. power. The raid is also being seen as a point of weakness in the Libyan government. Liberal intellectual in Benghazi, Mohammed Muftah, said, quote, "There is hardly very much going on except that every 3 or 4 days there is a new assassination. This government seems to be suffering terminal inertia. The United States is now put on the defensive because of the Libyan backlash. We are standing our ground by saying this capture was completely legal and justified."
Activists in Saudi Arabia are outraged by the sentence handed down to a cleric found guilty of a heinous crime after killing his own daughter. He'll spend just 8 years behind bars. CNN Mohammed Jajum reports that the case triggered international condemnation.
Just 5 years old when she was beaten to death, Lema Al-Ghamdi's precious smile became a symbol of unspeakable brutality. After being beaten and tortured, she lingered in a hospital for months before succumbing to a crushed skull, broken ribs, and burns. Lema's case quickly caused outrage throughout Saudi Arabia, many shocked not just by what happened, but even more by who'd been accused of doing it to her. Her father, Fayhan Al-Ghamdi, a self-styled Saudi cleric, somebody known for preaching tolerance on TV. On Monday, a court found him guilty. Many thought he'd pay for the crime with his life. Instead, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison and 600 lashes. According to an official with a government-backed rights group, Al-Ghamdi was also ordered to pay restitution, what they call here blood money. In a conservative country where the death penalty is common, Saudi social media users were quick to express disgust. "What kind of verdict is this?" tweeted one. "This is not justice," tweeted another. Some pointed out what they called a travesty, that killing Lema garnered Al-Ghamdi a punishment similar to that received by a Saudi activist recently sentenced to 7 years in jail and 600 lashes, convicted of violating the nation's anti-cybercrime law by running an unauthorized web forum. Mohammed Al-Mahdi, with Saudi Arabia's Human Rights Commission, told CNN Al-Ghamdi might have been executed had Lema's mother not ceded her original request of the death penalty and asked for the blood money instead, which he added is her right under Saudi law. But given the memory of a tortured child, many Saudis now asking if those laws are applied fairly. Mohammed Jamjoom, CNN, Beirut.
Unemployment in this country is slightly coming down from an all-time high. However, this is not the case worldwide. When it comes to youth employment, about 40% of the world's unemployed are under 25. This comes out to be about 75 million people as of last year. According to the former Prime Minister of Spain, José María Aznar, quote, "It's jeopardizing the opportunities for future prosperity and growth. It seems that even your college degree doesn't guarantee you a job anymore. Most parents are finding themselves caring for their children years after they get out of college. Most countries are seeing this as a problem, as a domestic one, but it is much bigger than that. This needs to be looked at on a global scale, and efforts need to be put in place to help this growing epidemic. In North America alone, the unemployment rate for youths is 70.4% in the Eastern Hemisphere. It ranges from 9% to almost 28%. Wow, that's a pretty startling statistic considering we're in college, and I know I'm about to graduate and enter the workforce, so.
And I just entered college, so it's scary for me looking forward, but more scary for you looking to enter the job force next year.
I mean, I don't want to be moving in with my parents anytime soon. I feel like I just moved out and then I'm gonna have to move back in, so we'll see. Hopefully things will work out.
Yes, hopefully. An unusual traffic jam was holding up traffic in the Spanish capital of Madrid. Shepherds in the area were herding 2,000 sheep through the city to defend them against the threat of spreading urban sprawl and modern farming and grazing practices. This apparently is an annual event. Every year, several shepherds will lead a flock of sheep through the city to defend their right to use the driving routes. Modern agricultural practices involve moving animals in vans and confining them to barns. Shepherding is seen as too costly and time-consuming. Although it slowed traffic, there is a sense of pride in the Spanish residents every year when the parade comes through the streets.
There was a flood of a different kind this week in China. The eastern coast of China has taken a beating from the Typhoon Fitow. The storm came ashore Monday morning in Zhejiang province near Shanghai. It had winds as strong as 150 kilometers and an hour of drenching rains. Fitow battered Japan's southern island of Okinawa late Saturday.
A grandfather in England reportedly picked up the wrong child from school and took her to the doctor last Tuesday, and no one noticed. The grandfather meant to bring his own grandchild to the doctor that day, but simply picked up the wrong child with the same name as his granddaughter, who was in the same class as her. The girl's parents realized what had happened only after their daughter showed them the medicine she had gotten from the doctor. Though the mother has forgiven the old man, she is not showing the same mercy to the school. The school's head teacher has apologized for the incident and has issued a statement saying nothing like this will ever happen again.
That poor little girl, like, did she not want to say anything to the wrong grandfather that picked her
How
up?
did this happen? How would you not realize it was not your grandfather or not your grandchild?
Yeah.
To me, it's a little confusing.
Was she just silent the whole time? Like, if it was me, I'd be like, who is this man trying to pick me up?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how this could have happened. It's a weird story.
It's very odd.
Well, speaking of crazy stories, a robot takes on rugged terrain, a candy shop makes a massive peanut butter cup, and a rare white lion makes his debut. Melissa Rainey has today's take a look at this.
Take a look at this. It's not a clip from the latest sci-fi flick, it's LS-3, a four-legged robot designed by Boston Dynamics. They say it can travel 20 miles on rough terrain, carrying 400 pounds. Boston Dynamics engineers have also come up with Wildcat. They say it has the ability to bound and gallop at about 16 miles per hour. And just in time for Halloween, a Vermont candy shop attempts to make the largest peanut butter cup.
I'm going to need more chocolate.
You're looking at more than 229 pounds of chocolate and peanut butter. They're still waiting official word to see if it's a record setter. Now for your daily dose of cute. Take a look at this little guy. The rare white lion cub made his first public appearance at a Serbian zoo over the weekend. He was born September 27th. For Take a Look at This, I'm Melissa Rainey.
Looks like the government isn't the only thing that's shutting down lately. The go-to online black market for illegal drugs and weapons, known as Silk Road, has been shut down by the FBI. This deep website is almost 1 million users who are able to hide their identities and transactions. An anonymous network known as Tor made activity on the site untraceable. The only source of money accepted was a digital currency known as Bitcoin. The Silk Road owner has been arrested and charged with narcotics trafficking, computer hacking, and money laundering.
Miley Cyrus hosted Saturday Night Live and Halle Berry had a baby. Martha Shade has those stories and more in your Hollywood Minute.
Miley Cyrus was up late hosting Saturday Night Live over the weekend. The pop star didn't shy away from poking a little fun at her provocative VMA performance.
You walk out there like that, they're gonna put you in prison, like that guy.
20-year-old singer also ripped congressional Republicans for their part in shutting down the federal government. Miley even played a sexy Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann with a dancing John Boehner by her side. Halle Berry and her husband are new parents. The two welcomed a baby boy into the world on Saturday in Los Angeles. This is Berry's second child, but the first with her beau, French actor Olivier Martinez. The two married in July. And at the box office this weekend, Gravity was #1. The sci-fi thriller raked in a record-breaking $55.6 million. In the number 2 slot was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. It dropped 37% to second place. It brought in $21.5 million. And in third place was the Ben Affleck and Justin Timberlake flick, Runner Runner. It scored $7.6 million in its opening weekend. That's your Hollywood Minute. I'm Martha Shade.
So what's your opinion about Miley Cyrus? I feel like everybody has a strong opinion one way or another.
Personally, I like her. I appreciate her confidence, and on SNL, I have to admit, she was quite funny.
I didn't see the segment, but I think Miley's kind of gone off the deep end. I miss cute little Hannah Montana Miley. I'm not digging the new Miley.
Yeah, well, according to her skit on SNL, she murdered Hannah Montana.
No. Little girls everywhere will be so upset.
No.
Well, that's all we have for you guys tonight. I'm Caitlin Goettler.
And I'm Katherine Janiszewski. Thanks for stopping by.